The 2023 MLB season is upon us, and in this video I will be predicting the MLB season this year. Before we get into today's video, please smash that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell if you're new to my channel. Chances are if you're watching this video, that means you really love sports, and also drop a like on this video. The New York Yankees, 96 and 66. The New York Yankees had a great season last year by winning their division title for the first time since the 2019 campaign. In the playoffs, they made it to the ALCS against the Houston Astros. Unfortunately for them, they got swept in that series. Even though they made the playoffs last year, it was still a disappointing season at the same time, because they had made the ALCS 3 times since 2017 and have failed to make the World Series in those appearances with a very talented roster. The Yankees' last World Series appearance came in 2009 when they beat the Philadelphia Phillies. Currently, the New York Yankees have made the playoffs for 6 consecutive seasons in a row, and since the beginning of the 21st century, they have only missed the playoffs 4 times. They will have one of the best rotations in MLB and will also have a top 10 lineup this year. This season, I suspect that the New York Yankees will win their division for a second straight season in a row. The Toronto Blue Jays, 93 and 69. The Toronto Blue Jays had a good season last year by making the playoffs after missing it the year before. In the playoffs, they were eliminated right away in the AL Wildcard Series against the Seattle Mariners. Last season, they had a record of 92 wins and 70 losses, and that was their second consecutive season in a row with 90-plus wins. The Blue Jays haven't made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons since the 2015 and 2016 campaigns, where they made it to the ALCS in both campaigns. Even with the departure of Teoscar Hernandez in the offseason, this offense is still going to be really good this season and should be a top 5 lineup this year. Their rotation should be a top 5 unit in MLB this year, and that should give the team a playoff rotation that they can trust. I absolutely believe that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to have another strong season this year and should be a contender for a division title. The Baltimore Orioles, 86 and 76. For the Baltimore Orioles fans, last season was a welcome surprise, even though the team didn't make the playoffs. The Orioles seem to have finally turned the corner in their rebuild last season, posting their first winning record since they made the playoffs as a wildcard team back in 2016. Last season, they had a record of 83 wins and 79 losses, and they missed the playoffs by only 3 games. In the new season, the team hopes to see the return of lefty John Means, who missed almost all of last season after undergoing Tommy John surgery, who, if healthy, could provide the team with a top-level arm this year. Now the Baltimore Orioles are no longer a punching bag of the AL East like in years back, and I believe that they are going in the right direction this season for a wildcard spot potentially. The Tampa Bay Rays, 85 and 77. The Tampa Bay Rays had a pretty good season last year by making the playoffs, but at the same time it was a disappointing season. That's because they didn't win their division for a 3rd straight season in a row, and also because they won 86 games in 2022 compared to 2021 where they won 100 games, the most in franchise history. After the Tampa Bay Rays made the playoffs last year, now the team has made the playoffs for 4 straight seasons in a row, and that's the first time that's ever happened in franchise history. In the playoffs, they made it to the AL Wildcard Series against the Cleveland Guardians. Unfortunately for them, they got swept in that series. Tampa Bay will have one of the best bullpens in the league and will also have a top 10 starting rotation this season. I still believe that the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be a competitive team this year and are a wildcard contender this season. The Boston Red Sox, 73 and 89. The Boston Red Sox had a disappointing season last year by missing the playoffs and by having a losing record. Boston did have the 5th worst bullpen in MLB last season, and they finished with 29 blown saves, and that was the 6th highest mark in all of baseball. The Red Sox had an interesting offseason, but not in a good way. They started off the offseason with 13 Major League free agents and only signed 1. That list included Xander Bogaerts, who left in free agency and signed a massive 11-year deal with the San Diego Padres. Even though that was a weird offseason for them, they did sign Kenley Jansen, Corey Kluber, Justin Turner, and overall the roster this season will be one of the oldest in the league. So in the new season, I suspect that the Boston Red Sox won't be as good as last season and could finish in last place in their division. So that's my AL East standing predictions for the 2023 season. The Cleveland Guardians, 89-73. The Cleveland Guardians completed their first season under their new name last year. In that season, they won their division title for the first time since 2018, and they also made the playoffs for the first time since the COVID-19 season in 2020. In the playoffs, they made it to the ALDS against the New York Yankees. Unfortunately for them, they lost that series in 5 games. Currently, the team hasn't made back-to-back playoff appearances in a row since the 2016 to 2018 seasons. Cleveland had a middle-of-the-pack offense last year, ranking 15th in runs per game. This season, their offense could be even better. Their strength will be the bullpen, which could be a top 5 unit this year. I suspect that the Cleveland Guardians will be a contender to win their division title this season. The Minnesota Twins, 84-78. The Minnesota Twins have had back-to-back losing seasons in a row after winning back-to-back AL Central titles in 2019 and in 2020. Last season, their record was 78 wins and 84 losses. The Twins had a good offseason by re-signing Carlos Correa to a 6-year deal and had many other great additions to the team. One huge reason why they were able to re-sign him in the offseason is because his health was the reason that the Mets and the Giants dropped their contract offers. But the Twins accepted the risk. The Twins' offense should be better this season, and their pitching staff could be in the middle of the pack this year. So in the new season, I suspect that the Minnesota Twins will have a winning record and could possibly win their division if things go right for them this year. The Chicago White Sox, 77-85. The Chicago White Sox had a disappointing season last year by not making the playoffs after they were considered a World Series contender. Last season, Chicago had a record of 81 wins and 81 losses, and a big part of that was because of injuries. In the offseason, the White Sox lost a ton of key players. And one player that would be definitely missed is Jose Abreu, who has been a clubhouse leader for nearly a decade after first signing with the White Sox ahead of 2014. Even with him no longer on the team, the White Sox offense could have a bounce-back season this year. Their rotation and bullpen could be in the middle of the pack this year, but their rotation is overall a mystery. By all means, I think that the Chicago White Sox won't be as good as last season, but the division remains so weak that they have a decent chance of winning it, if things go right for them. The Kansas City Royals, 69-93. The Kansas City Royals had a bad season last year and also took a step back at the same time. Last year, they won 65 games and lost 97 games compared to the previous season. They had a record of 74 wins and 88 losses. At the moment, the Royals have had 6 straight losing seasons in a row, and their last winning season came in 2016. Their last playoff appearance came in the 2015 season when they won the World Series. In the offseason, the team did re-sign veteran pitcher Zach Greinke and added some other veteran pieces into the rotation. For the new season, their offense isn't going to be that good and their pitching could be better this year. By all means, I think that the Kansas City Royals could be overall a better team this year, but don't expect a playoff berth this season. The Detroit Tigers, 67-95. The Detroit Tigers had a horrible season last year by taking a step back in their current rebuild. They have currently missed the playoffs for 8 consecutive seasons in a row, and their last playoff appearance came in 2014. Last season, the Tigers had a record of 66 wins and 96 losses compared to the previous season where they had a record of 77 wins and 85 losses. Detroit hasn't had a winning record since the 2016 campaign, and now success will not be measured in wins and losses. but instead it will depend on whether their young players can take a step forward in their development and provide a foundation to build around. I suspect that the Detroit Tigers won't be that good of a team in the new season. So that's my AL Central standing predictions for the 2023 season. The Houston Astros, 99-63. The Houston Astros had a wonderful season last year by winning their second World Series title in franchise history. In the World Series, they played against the Philadelphia Phillies and won that series in 6 games. Since 2015, the Houston Astros have made the playoffs 7 times, making 4 World Series appearances and winning 2 of those appearances in that time. Also, in the last 6 seasons, they have won the AL West title 5 times, and the only time not winning it was in 2020. In the offseason, Houston let the reigning AL Cy Young winner Justin Verlander walk in free agency, and the Houston Astros still have one of the best rotations in baseball. Offensively, they added first baseman Jose Abreu to an already stacked lineup that should be one of the best in the league. Overall, the Houston Astros are going to be one of the best teams in MLB and are definitely World Series contenders this season. The Seattle Mariners, 94-68. The Seattle Mariners ended their 21-year playoff drought last season with a record of 90 wins and 72 losses. In their first playoff series, they played against the Toronto Blue Jays and swept that series. Then they played against the Houston Astros in the ALDS. Unfortunately for them, they got swept in that series. In the offseason, the Mariners got some veteran players, naming Colton Wong to plug a hole at second base. Teoscar Hernandez gives the lineup a middle-of-the-order run producer, and they also added AJ Pollock and Tommy La Stella. The Mariners' offense will be even better in the new season, and their pitching staff is elite. With a full season with Luis Castillo and another year under the belt for Logan Gilbert and George Kirby, and Robbie Ray is capable of more. Don't forget that their bullpen is on fire. I absolutely think that the Seattle Mariners will be even a better team this season and could potentially have a deep playoff run this year. The Texas Rangers, 82-80. The Texas Rangers had another bad season last year, but it was a step in the right direction. Last season, they finished with a record of 68 wins and 94 losses, and that was their 6th consecutive losing season in a row. Their last winning season and playoff appearance came in the 2016 campaign. The Rangers last season struggled terribly in one-run games, and they had a record of 15 wins and 35 losses in such games, which was the worst record in MLB. In the offseason, the Rangers got dramatically better in certain areas. They signed Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, Andrew Heaney, Jake Odorizzi, and Danny Duffy. The Texas Rangers could have their best starting rotation in franchise history this year. So I suspect that the Texas Rangers could have their first winning season this year, and maybe if things go right, they could be a wild card contender. The Los Angeles Angels, 78-84. The Los Angeles Angels had another disappointing season last year by finishing with a losing record for a 7th consecutive season in a row. Their last winning record came in the 2015 campaign, and their last playoff appearance came in the 2014 season, when they got swept in the ALDS. Since 2010, the Angels have had 4 winning seasons with only 1 playoff appearance in that time. In the offseason, the team added versatile veterans Brandon Drury and Gio Urshela. They also got Hunter Renfroe in a trade with Milwaukee. Their offense is going to have a bounce-back season after a down year last season. On paper, their rotation is slightly improved with the addition of Tyler Anderson. By all means, I absolutely think that the Los Angeles Angels will have a bounce-back season this year, and it will come down to their pitching staff this season if they make a playoff spot. The Oakland Athletics, 58-104. The Oakland Athletics had a horrible season last year by coming off their first 100-loss season since 1979. Last season was also their first losing season since 2017, and their last playoff appearance came in the 2020 campaign. The team spent the offseason bringing in some cheap veteran talent to make the team somewhat competitive in the new season. Oakland had the second worst offense in the league last year, and in the new season, their offense isn't going to be that good at all. The A's will have one of the worst pitching staffs in the 2023 MLB season. In the new season, I suspect that the Oakland Athletics could be the worst team in the league this year in their second year of rebuilding mode. So that's my AL West standing predictions for the 2023 season. The New York Mets, 99-63. The New York Mets had a wonderful season last year by winning the second most games in franchise history, winning 101 games. The last time that the team has won that many games in a season was back in 1988. Last season was their first playoff appearance since the 2016 campaign. In the playoffs, they made it to the NL Wildcard Series against the San Diego Padres. Unfortunately for them, they lost that series in 3 games. In the offseason, the New York Mets signed 9 free agents to MLB contracts, whose contracts totaled nearly $500 million. They should have a top 10 lineup this season, and their rotation is a top 3 unit, and their bullpen is elite. I suspect that the New York Mets will be one of the best teams and will be a World Series contender this year. The Atlanta Braves, 95-67. The Atlanta Braves had another fantastic season last year by winning their division title for a 5th consecutive season in a row. They also won 100-plus games for the first time in a season since the 2003 campaign. Since the beginning of the 21st century, the Braves have made the playoffs 14 times and winning 1 World Series title in 2021. In the playoffs, they made it to the NLDS against the Philadelphia Phillies. Unfortunately for them, they lost that series in 4 games. The Braves had a quiet offseason relative to their top NL East rivals, but healthy seasons from some of their star players would go a long way to make the team even better this season. They have one of the best lineups in the league, and they also have one of the best rotations and bullpens in the new season. So I suspect that the Atlanta Braves are going to have another great season this year. The Philadelphia Phillies, 91-71. The Philadelphia Phillies had a great season last year by making the World Series. That was their first World Series appearance since 2009 and their first playoff appearance since 2011. In the World Series, they played against the Houston Astros. Unfortunately for them, they lost that series in 6 games. The Phillies had a great offseason by signing several talented players, including Trey Turner, who makes the team even better in the new season. Even with Bryce Harper sidelined to start the year as he recovers from Tommy John surgery, he could be back by the All-Star break. The Phillies have a top 10 lineup and have a really good rotation going into the new season. I absolutely believe that the Philadelphia Phillies will have another fantastic season this year. The Miami Marlins, 75-87. The Miami Marlins had a disappointing season last year and took a step back in their rebuild. Last season, they had a record of 69 wins and 93 losses and missed the playoffs for a second straight year in a row. In their history, they have made the playoffs only 3 times with 2 World Series appearances in 1997 and in 2003. In the offseason, the Marlins added Luis Arraez and Gene Shigura, but overall, the offense will be their weakness in the new season. Their starting rotation and bullpen will be their strength and will help keep them in games. By all means, I believe that the Miami Marlins will have a lot better season this year. The Washington Nationals, 61-101. The Washington Nationals had their worst season in franchise history last year since they relocated to Washington, D.C. Last season, they finished with a record of 55 wins and 107 losses. That was their 3rd consecutive losing season in a row. Their last winning season came in 2019 when they won the World Series. In the offseason, they picked up some players that could be used as trade bait in the new season. The Nationals' offense isn't going to be that good this year, and their pitching staff could be the worst unit in the league. So my prediction is that the Washington Nationals will be the worst team in the National League this year. So that's my NL East standing predictions for the 2023 season. The St. Louis Cardinals, 92-70. The St. Louis Cardinals had another great season last year by having their 15th consecutive winning season in a row, and their last losing season came in 2007. They have currently made the playoffs for 4 consecutive seasons in a row, and since 2010 they have made the playoffs 9 times in that period. In the playoffs, they made it to the NL Wildcard Series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Unfortunately for them, they got swept in that series. In the last 3 out of the 4 playoff appearances for them, they have not made it out of the wildcard round. One of the biggest changes for them heading into the new season will be having a catcher not named Yadier Molina behind the plate for the first time in nearly 2 decades. The Cardinals are loaded offensively with Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado once again anchoring a lineup that could be a top 10 lineup this year. So my prediction in the new season is that the St. Louis Cardinals will win their division again this year. The Milwaukee Brewers, 88-74. The Milwaukee Brewers had a disappointing season last year by missing the playoffs after making it the previous 4 seasons in a row. In those 4 straight playoff appearances, they have won their division title twice in 2018 and in 2021. In the offseason, the Brewers traded away Hunter Renfroe and Colton Wong, but they did get some quality players in the offseason too. The Brewers have one of the best rotations in baseball led by Corbin Burnes, and their bullpen is pretty good too. Milwaukee's offense has enough potential for the Brewers to take back the NL Central this year. I suspect that the Milwaukee Brewers are going to be a good team this season and should be a playoff contender all season long. The Chicago Cubs, 79-83. The Chicago Cubs are looking to bounce back from a tough 2022 season in which they finished with 74 wins and 88 losses. 3rd place in the NL Central. Now the Cubs have missed the playoffs in back-to-back seasons in a row, and they have also not had a winning record since their last playoff appearance came in the 2020 campaign. They had a nice offseason, and the big splash of the offseason for the Cubs was the addition of shortstop Dansby Swanson on a 7-year deal. But he's not the only new face in the clubhouse, naming Cody Bellinger, Eric Hosmer, Trey Mancini, and many other talented players. Chicago's offense will be an overall better unit in the new season, and their rotation could be in the middle of the pack. The Chicago Cubs will play a series against the St. Louis Cardinals in London on June 24th and 25th. So in the new season, my prediction is that the Chicago Cubs will be an overall better team and are going in the right direction. The Pittsburgh Pirates, 69-93. The Pittsburgh Pirates had a bad season last year and are coming off back-to-back 100-loss seasons, and they haven't had a winning campaign since 2018. Pittsburgh's last playoff appearance came in the 2015 season. They are heading into their 3rd straight year of their current rebuild this season. The Pirates made some nice additions this offseason, bringing back legend Andrew McCutchen, who won an MVP back in 2013 with the team. They also brought in many other good players. Their offense is going to be improved with the additions in the offseason, and their pitching is still going to be their weakness, but will be a little bit better overall this year. So my prediction is that the Pittsburgh Pirates won't finish the new season in last place in their division. The Cincinnati Reds, 64-98. The Cincinnati Reds had a horrible season last year by having their 2nd worst season in franchise history. That was their 2nd time that they have ever lost 100-plus games in a season in their history. The other time was back in 1982. Cincinnati has missed the playoffs for the last 2 seasons in a row, and their last appearance and winning record came in the 2020 campaign. They didn't have a good offseason, and with the additions like Will Myers, Luke Weaver, and Chad Pender doing little to move the needle for a team that is likely going to have another long season. By all means, I believe that the Cincinnati Reds are going to be one of the worst teams in the new season. So that's my NL Central standing predictions for the 2023 season. The Los Angeles Dodgers, 98-64. The Los Angeles Dodgers had their best season in franchise history last year by winning 111 games. They won their division title last year after not winning it the previous season. And since 2013, the Dodgers have won their NL West title 9 times in that period. In the playoffs, they made it to the NLDS against the San Diego Padres. Unfortunately for them, they lost that series in 4 games. The Dodgers have currently made the playoffs for 10 straight seasons in a row. In the offseason, the Dodgers lost a ton of talented players naming Trey Turner, Tyler Anderson, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Andrew Heaney, Chris Martin. Even though they lost those talented players, the team is still considered a World Series contender, but that speaks to how much talent is still on the Dodgers roster. I absolutely believe that the Los Angeles Dodgers are still one of the best teams in MLB in the new season. The San Diego Padres, 93-69. The San Diego Padres had a wonderful season last year by having their deepest playoff run since 1998. The last time that the Padres won their division was back in the 2006 season. In the playoffs, they made it to the NLCS against the Philadelphia Phillies. Unfortunately for them, they lost that series in 5 games. The Padres had a wonderful offseason by signing one of the top free agents naming Xander Bogaerts to an 11-year deal. They also added many other talented players to the team. San Diego has one of the best rosters in the league in the new season. Their offense is going to be elite and their pitching staff is going to be fantastic. So I believe that the San Diego Padres will be a World Series contender all season long. The San Francisco Giants, 83-79. The San Francisco Giants had a disappointing season last year after having the best season in franchise history the season before. Last season, they had a record of 81 wins and 81 losses, and they missed the playoffs after making it in the previous season. In the offseason, they did lose some talented athletes, but they did re-sign Jock Peterson and they signed Mitch Haniger, and overall the team did add some more talented players to the roster. If Michael Conforto and Mitch Haniger can stay healthy for a full season, and if so, the offense is a lot more dynamic this time. Their pitching staff won't be as good and the unit could be in the middle of the pack. By all means, I think that the San Francisco Giants will be a competitive team this year and could be a wildcard contender this season. The Arizona Diamondbacks, 76-86. The Arizona Diamondbacks had a lot better season last year by having a 22-game improvement over the 2021 campaign. Even with that huge improvement, they still missed the playoffs for a 5th consecutive season in a row. Arizona has had 3 straight losing seasons, with their last winning campaign coming in 2019. The Diamondbacks' offense has the potential to be pretty good and their rotation could be a major strength. Arizona does have one of the best young cores of players and prospects in baseball. I suspect that the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to be a better team this year and could be a dark horse contender for a wildcard spot. The Colorado Rockies, 66-96. The Rockies had another bad season last year by having a losing record for a 4th consecutive season in a row. Their last playoff appearance came in the 2018 campaign. Other than shortened seasons, last year's 698 runs in a full regular season was the fewest that the Rockies have ever scored in a campaign. If Chris Bryant stays healthy for a full season, that could help the struggling offense. And their pitching staff isn't going to be that good in the new season. So I suspect that the Rockies won't be the worst team in the league, but they will finish dead last in their division this season. So that's my NL West standing predictions for the 2023 season. So those are my 2023 MLB season predictions. What are your predictions for this season? Let me know down below. Before you leave, please smash that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell if you're new to my channel. And if you love sports, this is definitely the channel for you, and also share this video with more sports fans. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Nathan, and I'll see you guys all in my next video. Just keep loving sports.